I was folding laundry in my living room on a Thursday afternoon when I heard a knock on my door, and when I opened it, I found a young woman I didn't recognize standing on my porch with an expression that was equal parts nervous and determined, and she said, "Mrs. Williams, I'm Emma Carter, your grandson Noah's second-grade teacher. I know this is unusual, but I need to talk to you about something important, something that's been happening at school that I think you need to know about." My first instinct was panic. Had Noah been hurt? Had something happened? But she quickly reassured me that he was physically fine, and then she said words that made my blood run cold. "Mrs. Williams, Noah has been coming to school hungry almost every day for the past 3 months. He's been taking food from other children's lunches, hoarding snacks in his desk, and this week he told me he hadn't eaten dinner in 2 days because Mommy's friend doesn't let me have food when I'm bad." I stood there frozen, trying to process what she was telling me, because my daughter Jennifer had always assured me that Noah was fine, that everything at home was fine, that I didn't need to worry, but apparently everything was not fine, and my 8-year-old grandson had been suffering in silence while the adults around him either didn't notice or didn't care enough to intervene. My name is Ann Williams, and I'm 72 years old. I live in a small brick house on Magnolia Street in Charleston, South Carolina, where I raised my 2 children and where I thought I knew everything that mattered about my family. My daughter Jennifer is 39 years old, divorced and raising her 8-year-old son Noah on her own, or that's what I thought she was doing. Now I was learning that something was very wrong, and I'd been too trusting, too distant, too willing to believe everything was fine when clearly it wasn't. I invited Emma Carter inside and asked her to tell me everything. Emma was in her late 20s, a dedicated teacher who clearly cared deeply about her students. She sat on my couch with a folder of documentation and told me things that broke my heart. "Mrs. Williams, I've been Noah's teacher since September. For the first month or so, everything seemed normal. He's a sweet kid, very quiet, a bit shy. But around October, I started noticing changes. He was falling asleep in class, he seemed distracted, anxious, and then I noticed he was taking food. Taking food? From other children's lunchboxes. Small things at first, a granola bar, a package of crackers. I thought maybe he just really liked those snacks. But then it escalated. He was taking sandwiches, fruit, anything he could grab. And he was hiding food in his desk, hoarding it like he didn't know when he'd eat again. I felt sick. "Did you tell Jennifer, his mother?" I tried. I called her multiple times, sent emails, requested parent-teacher conferences. She came to one meeting in November, told me Noah was going through a phase, that he was fine at home. She said he was just being dramatic for attention. But Mrs. Williams, this isn't attention-seeking behavior. This is survival behavior. "What do you mean?" Emma pulled out a notebook from her folder. I started documenting everything. Noah's behavior, things he said, patterns I noticed. In December, he told me he was hungry because breakfast got skipped again. In January, he said he couldn't do his homework because Mommy's friend was loud and I had to stay in my room. Last week, he came to school with a bruise on his arm. When I asked about it, he said he'd fallen, but the shape was wrong for a fall. It looked like finger marks. "Did you report this?" I reported the bruise to our school counselor, who filed a report with Child Protective Services. A caseworker visited your daughter's home, but apparently everything seemed fine on the surface. Noah was fed that day, the house was clean, Jennifer was cooperative. The case was closed after one visit. But things aren't fine. No, they're not, and Noah is suffering. "That's why I'm here, Mrs. Williams. I know this is overstepping boundaries. I could get in trouble for coming to you directly instead of going through proper channels. But I've exhausted proper channels. CPS closed the case. Jennifer won't respond to my concerns, and Noah is getting worse." "Worse how?" "This week, he told me something that scared me. He said, 'I have to be really good or Brian gets mad and Mommy cries.' When I asked who Brian was, he clammed up completely and wouldn't say anything else. Brian, Jennifer had mentioned she was seeing someone named Brian a few months ago, but she'd been vague about it. I'd never met him, never even seen a photo. Emma, thank you for coming here." Thank you for caring enough about Noah to risk your job by telling me this. Mrs. Williams, I became a teacher because I wanted to help children, and sometimes helping them means doing uncomfortable things. Noah needs someone to advocate for him, and I don't think his mother is doing that right now. After Emma left, I sat in my living room trying to process everything she told me. My grandson was hungry. He was scared. He was being hurt, maybe not severely, but hurt nonetheless. And Jennifer was either blind to it or complicit in it. I needed to see Noah. I needed to understand what was really happening. I called Jennifer. She answered on the fourth ring, her voice distracted. Mom? What's up? Jennifer, I'd like to see Noah this weekend. Maybe take him out for the day, just the two of us. This weekend? I don't know, Mom. We have plans. What plans? Brian and I are taking Noah to the park, maybe out for pizza. Family time. Family time with a man I'd never met, while my grandson was apparently being starved and frightened. I haven't seen Noah in 3 weeks, Jennifer. I'd really like to spend some time with him. You saw him at Christmas. That was 6 weeks ago, and we were only together for a few hours. She sighed, irritated. Fine, you can pick him up Saturday morning, but bring him back by 5. We have dinner plans. Saturday morning, I drove to Jennifer's apartment. It was in a complex on the north side of town, a place she'd moved to about 4 months ago, after her landlord raised the rent on her previous place. She told me the new apartment was nicer, bigger, better for Noah. When I knocked on the door, a man answered. He was in his mid-40s, tall, muscular, with a cold expression that didn't soften when he saw me. You must be Anne. Jennifer's in the shower. Noah's in his room. You must be Brian. That's right. He didn't invite me in, just stood blocking the doorway. Jennifer said you're taking the kid for the day. Noah? His name is Noah. Right, Noah. He turned and yelled down the hallway. Kid, your grandma's here. Noah appeared a moment later, looking small and anxious. When he saw me, relief flooded his face. Grandma! He ran to me and wrapped his arms around my waist. I hugged him tight and felt how thin he was. This child had lost weight since Christmas. Hey, sweetheart, ready to spend the day with Grandma? Yes. Let me just grab my purse from your room, I said, wanting an excuse to see his living space. Brian started to object, but Jennifer appeared from the bathroom, her hair wet. Mom, you're early. Just by a few minutes. I was going to grab my purse from Noah's room. It's right there. Jennifer pointed to where I'd set it by the door. She was deliberately preventing me from seeing Noah's room. That told me something was wrong. Actually, I need to use the bathroom. May I? Jennifer couldn't refuse that without being obviously suspicious. Fine. Down the hall, second door on the right. I walked down the hallway, noting the apartment layout. Noah's room was the first door on the left. As I passed it, I glanced in. What I saw made my stomach turn. The room was tiny, barely big enough for a twin mattress on the floor with no bed frame. There was no dresser, no toys, no decorations, just a mattress, a thin blanket, and a pillow. The closet door was ajar, and I could see it was nearly empty, just a few pieces of clothing. This wasn't a child's bedroom. This was storage space being used as a bedroom. I continued to the bathroom, used it, and returned to the living room where Brian and Jennifer were waiting. If you've ever seen evidence that a child you love is being neglected and had to pretend everything was normal to avoid making the situation worse, you know the particular horror I felt. Every instinct wanted to confront Jennifer right there, to demand answers, to take Noah and never bring him back. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed to be smart about this. Ready, Noah? Yes, Grandma. As we left, I heard Brian say to Jennifer, "Don't let the old lady poison the kid against me." In the car, I looked at Noah. He was so small, so thin, with dark circles under his eyes. Noah, sweetheart, are you hungry? Would you like to stop for breakfast? His eyes lit up. Really? Can we? Of course. What would you like? Pancakes with syrup? And bacon? Absolutely. At the diner, I watched Noah eat like he was starving. He ordered pancakes, bacon, eggs, orange juice, and toast. He ate every single bite, then asked if he could have more. Of course, baby, you can have as much as you want. He ordered another stack of pancakes and ate most of those too. Noah, I said gently, does Mommy feed you breakfast at home? He looked down at his plate. Sometimes. What about dinner? Sometimes. But Brian says I eat too much and food costs money, so sometimes I'm not allowed to eat if I'm bad. What does being bad mean? Being loud or messy, or when Brian is mad about something. Does Brian live with you and Mommy? Yes, he moved in at Halloween. Halloween. 4 months ago, right around when Emma Carter said Noah's behavior changed. Do you like Brian? Noah was quiet for a long time. Then, very quietly, he said, No, he's mean, and he makes Mommy cry. How is he mean? He yells a lot, and sometimes he pushes Mommy, and he doesn't let me come out of my room when he's home. I have to stay in there and be really quiet. Noah, the bruise on your arm that your teacher saw, how did you really get that? He pulled his sleeve down over the bruise, which was fading but still visible. Brian grabbed me when I came out of my room for water. He said I was being bad by not staying in my room like I was told. I felt rage building in me. This man, this stranger, was abusing my grandson while my daughter either didn't notice or didn't care. Noah, has Brian ever hurt you other ways, hit you or pushed you? He pushed me once and I fell. That's when I got the bruise on my back that I told the CPS lady was from falling off the playground. He'd been coached to lie to the CPS worker. Jennifer or Brian or both had told him what to say. Sweetheart, I need you to be very honest with me. Are you safe at home? Noah looked at me with eyes that seemed far too old for an 8-year-old. I don't know, Grandma. I just try to be really good so Brian doesn't get mad. I spent the rest of the day with Noah, and with each hour, I learned more disturbing details. He told me that Jennifer worked long hours as a receptionist at a dental office, often not getting home until 6 or 7 p.m. Brian worked construction, but he was frequently home during the day because his work was irregular. When Jennifer wasn't home, Brian was responsible for Noah, but Brian treated Noah as an inconvenience. He made Noah stay in his room all day, gave him minimal food, and threatened him if he made any noise that disturbed Brian's TV watching or video games. Noah told me that last week he'd been so hungry he'd snuck out of his room to get food from the kitchen. Brian had caught him, grabbed his arm, leaving the bruise, and locked him in his room for the rest of the day and night with no food. Did you tell Mommy? I tried, but Brian told her I was lying for attention, and Mommy believed him. Jennifer was choosing her boyfriend over her son. She was allowing this man to abuse Noah, either because she was blind to it or because she was too afraid of Brian to intervene. At 5 o'clock, I drove Noah back to the apartment. Jennifer answered the door this time. Did you have fun with Grandma? Yes, Noah said, but I saw the light fade from his eyes as he stepped into the apartment. Jennifer, I need to talk to you, alone. Mom, now's not a good time. I wasn't asking. We need to talk. Either here, or we can go somewhere else. Your choice. She looked annoyed, but agreed. We stepped outside while Brian supervised Noah inside. Jennifer, Noah's teacher came to see me this week. Her face tightened. That woman is overstepping. I've told her Noah's fine. He's not fine, Jennifer. He's losing weight, he's hungry, he's scared, and he has bruises from Brian grabbing him. That's not. Noah is dramatic. He exaggerates. I saw his room, Jennifer. A mattress on the floor with no furniture, no toys. That's not a child's room. That's a storage closet. We're in a small apartment. We make do with what we have. And Brian? The man who locks Noah in his room, who withholds food as punishment, who leaves bruises on him? Brian is helping with rent. I couldn't afford this place without him. So you're sacrificing your son's well-being for a man who pays part of your rent? You don't understand, Mom. I'm struggling. I'm working full-time and barely making ends meet. Brian helps. Yes, he's strict with Noah, but Noah needs discipline. Discipline is setting boundaries and teaching consequences. Abuse is withholding food and leaving bruises. Those are not the same thing. I'm not having this conversation. You have no idea what my life is like. Then help me understand. Because what I see is a child who's being neglected and abused while his mother makes excuses for the man hurting him. You need to leave, Mom. Jennifer, if things don't change, I'm going to take action. What does that mean? It means I'll file for custody. I'll report Brian to CPS with everything Noah told me today. I'll make sure this situation is investigated properly. You wouldn't dare. Try me. I'm not going to stand by and watch my grandson suffer because you're too attached to a man who's hurting him. Jennifer's face went cold. If you file for custody, you'll never see Noah again. I'll make sure of it. That's your choice, Jennifer, but I'm not backing down on this. I left, my heart pounding. I just threatened legal action against my own daughter, but I had no choice. Noah's safety had to come first. Over the next week, I documented everything. I wrote down everything Noah had told me. I contacted Emma Carter and got copies of her documentation. I took photos of the bruise on Noah's arm before it completely faded. I researched family law attorneys who specialized in grandparents' rights cases. I also called my son Marcus in Atlanta and told him everything. Mama, you have to act. You can't let Noah stay in that situation. I'm going to file for emergency custody. But Marcus, this is going to destroy my relationship with Jennifer. Jennifer destroyed that relationship when she chose an abusive boyfriend over her son's safety. You're doing the right thing. With Marcus's support, I hired an attorney named Catherine Morrison who specialized in family law and grandparents' rights. Catherine reviewed all my documentation and nodded grimly. Mrs. Williams, you have a strong case. The teacher's documentation, Noah's statements to you, the photographic evidence of bruising, the inadequate living conditions, this paints a clear picture of neglect and abuse. What happens next? We file for emergency temporary custody based on imminent danger to the child. A judge will review the filing, likely order an immediate investigation, and make a determination about temporary placement while the full case is investigated. How long will this take? The emergency hearing could happen within days, but the full custody case could take months. What if Jennifer tries to hide Noah or move away? That's why we file for emergency custody. Once filed, she's legally obligated to make Noah available. If she tries to hide him or flee, that works strongly in your favor. We filed the paperwork on a Monday. By Wednesday, I received notice that an emergency hearing was scheduled for Friday, and CPS had been ordered to conduct an immediate investigation. A CPS caseworker named David Rodriguez came to my house Thursday afternoon to interview me. Mrs. Williams, I understand you're filing for emergency custody of your grandson. Can you tell me why? I told him everything, showed him the documentation from Emma Carter, showed him the photos of Noah's bruises, showed him the written account of everything Noah had told me. Has Noah ever stayed with you overnight? Yes, many times. He has his own room here, his own clothes, everything he needs. And you're prepared to take full custody if it's granted? Absolutely. Noah's safety is my priority. David also visited Jennifer's apartment that day. I wasn't there, but I heard from Jennifer's furious phone call afterward. How dare you? CPS showed up at my home. They interviewed Brian. They took pictures of Noah's room. They're treating me like some kind of criminal. You are allowing your boyfriend to abuse your son. What did you expect would happen? I'm not letting you take my child. Then start protecting him. Choose your son over Brian. She hung up on me. The emergency hearing was Friday at 2 p.m. Jennifer showed up with a court-appointed attorney since she couldn't afford to hire one. Brian was not allowed in the courtroom. The judge, a stern woman named Judge Patricia Hammond, reviewed all the documentation. She interviewed me briefly. She also had a social worker interview Noah separately. After 2 hours of testimony and review, Judge Hammond made her ruling. Based on the evidence presented, including documented weight loss, food hoarding behavior, bruising consistent with grabbing, inadequate sleeping arrangements, and the child's own statements about being denied food as punishment and being physically handled by the mother's boyfriend, I am granting temporary emergency custody to the grandmother, Ann Williams. Jennifer started crying. "You can't do this. He's my son." "Miss Williams, you have the right to appeal this decision, but based on the evidence, I believe Noah is at risk in your current living situation. Custody will be temporarily transferred to his grandmother pending a full investigation and hearing." This is because of that teacher. She put ideas in everyone's heads. Ms. Williams, a teacher's duty is to advocate for the safety of her students. She did exactly what she was supposed to do. This ruling is based on substantial evidence of neglect and abuse, not on any teacher's bias. The judge ordered that Jennifer could have supervised visitation with Noah 2 hours every Saturday at my home with me present. She also ordered Jennifer to attend parenting classes and substance abuse screening. Though there was no evidence of substance abuse, it was standard protocol. And she ordered that Brian could have no contact with Noah whatsoever. When we left the courthouse, Jennifer was furious. "You've ruined my life. I hope you're happy." "I'm not happy, Jennifer. I'm heartbroken that it came to this. But Noah's safety matters more than your feelings or mine." Noah came home with me that night. I'd prepared his room, the bedroom that had been waiting for him with toys and books and clean clothes. When he saw it, he started crying. "Grandma, is this really for me? All of this?" "Yes, sweetheart. This is your room. You're going to live here with me now." "Forever?" "We'll see what happens, but for now, yes." "Will Brian be here?" "No, baby. Brian is never coming here." "You're safe." He hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Thank you, Grandma. Thank you." Over the following weeks, Noah slowly began to heal. He gained weight. The dark circles under his eyes faded. He started smiling again, laughing, acting like the 8-year-old boy he was supposed to be. Emma Carter called to check on him. "Mrs. Williams, I heard about the custody change. How is Noah Gilling?" "He's doing so much better. Thank you for everything you did. If you hadn't come to me, I never would have known what was happening." That's why I'm a teacher, to advocate for kids who can't advocate for themselves. The full custody hearing was scheduled for 3 months later. In the meantime, Jennifer had supervised visits with Noah every Saturday. The first few visits were tense. Noah was nervous around Jennifer, and Jennifer was defensive and cold toward me. But gradually, something shifted. Without Brian's presence, without the stress of her living situation, Jennifer started actually seeing Noah, really seeing him. One Saturday, about 6 weeks into the visitation arrangement, Jennifer arrived early. Noah was still finishing lunch. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course." She sat at my kitchen table, looking exhausted. "I broke up with Brian." "When?" 2 weeks ago. After the judge's ruling, I started thinking about everything that had happened, about the choices I'd made, and I realized you were right. I was choosing him over Noah. I was letting him hurt my son because I was afraid of being alone, afraid of not being able to afford rent without him. What changed? I talked to a therapist. The court-mandated parenting classes include therapy sessions, and my therapist asked me a question that I couldn't answer. If someone was hurting you the way Brian was hurting Noah, would you want someone to intervene? And I realized that I'd been so focused on my own struggles that I'd stopped protecting my child. Jennifer, I'm glad you're seeing this now. I'm not asking for Noah back, not yet. I know I have work to do. But Mom, I want you to know that I understand now why you did what you did, and I'm grateful. You saved my son when I wasn't strong enough to save him myself. We both cried. I still love you, Jennifer. I always have. This was never about punishing you. It was about protecting Noah. I know, and I'm going to do better. I'm going to be the mother Noah deserves. Over the next several months, Jennifer did do better. She got her own apartment, smaller, affordable on her salary alone. She completed her parenting classes, she started therapy, and stuck with it. At the full custody hearing 3 months later, the judge reviewed everything: the progress Jennifer had made, the stability Noah had found with me, the recommendations from therapists and social workers. "This is a complicated situation," Judge Hammond said. "Miss Williams has made substantial progress. She's terminated her relationship with the abusive partner, secured stable housing, completed parenting classes, and engaged meaningfully in therapy. However, Noah has also stabilized significantly in his grandmother's care." She looked at both of us. "I'm going to order joint custody. Noah will live primarily with his grandmother, but Miss Williams will have liberal visitation, including overnight visits, with the goal of transitioning to shared custody within 6 months if progress continues." It wasn't perfect, but it was fair. Noah continued living with me, but he saw Jennifer regularly, and as Jennifer continued healing and growing, their relationship slowly mended. One evening, about a year after everything had started, Emma Carter came to visit. She brought a gift for Noah, a children's book about resilience. I wanted to see how he was doing. "He's doing wonderfully. Come see." Noah was in the backyard playing with a neighbor's child, laughing and running, looking healthy and happy. "That's what I hoped to see," Emma said, tears in her eyes. "When I first came to you, I wasn't sure what would happen. I was afraid I'd make things worse." "You made things better. You saved Noah." "We saved Noah. You're the one who had the courage to fight for him. You gave me the information I needed to fight. Without you, I never would have known what was happening." Emma stayed for dinner, and we talked about the importance of teachers as advocates, about the children who fall through the cracks, about the courage it takes to speak up when you see something wrong. "How many other children do you think are out there?" I asked. "Kids who are suffering in silence because the adults around them don't see or don't care?" "Too many," Emma said. "That's why I keep teaching, because for every Noah I can help, there might be 10 others I can't reach. But that one is worth it." Now, if you're listening to this story, if you're a grandparent who suspects something is wrong with your grandchild, if you've noticed signs of neglect or abuse but you're afraid to act, I need you to hear this. Sometimes the people who see us most clearly are not family, but those who care enough to speak the truth. Real love means listening, understanding, and taking responsibility, even when the truth is painful. And protecting a child often requires the courage to face what the adults around them refuse to admit. Here's what you need to do if you suspect a grandchild is being abused or neglected. First, gather information. Talk to the child's teachers, observe the child's behavior and physical condition, document anything concerning. Second, talk to the child in a safe, private setting. Ask open-ended questions. Listen without judgment. Believe what they tell you. Third, consult with professionals. Contact CPS, talk to family law attorneys, understand your legal options and the child's rights. Fourth, be prepared to act. Filing for custody is not easy. It will likely damage your relationship with your adult child, but if a grandchild's safety is at stake, it's necessary. And fifth, provide stability. If you gain custody, give the child a safe, loving, consistent home where they can heal. Will it be easy? No. Will it be painful? Yes. Will it be worth it? Absolutely. I fought for Noah when his mother wasn't able to protect him. I faced legal battles, family conflict, and enormous stress. But Noah is safe now. He's healthy, he's happy, and that's what matters. Jennifer is healing too. She's becoming the mother Noah needs. It took losing custody of her son for her to wake up to what was happening, but she did wake up. And now we're all working together to give Noah the childhood he deserves. Emma Carter, the teacher who started all of this by having the courage to come to me, remains one of my heroes. She didn't have to get involved. She could have just documented things and moved on. But she cared enough to risk professional consequences to save a child. That's what real advocacy looks like. Somewhere in Charleston, there's a 72-year-old grandmother who fought for custody of her grandson when she discovered he was being abused, who listened to a teacher who cared enough to speak up, who faced her own daughter in court and won, who gave a child safety when his mother couldn't or wouldn't. You can do the same if you need to. Don't ignore the signs. Don't convince yourself everything is fine when it's not. Don't prioritize family peace over a child's safety. Speak up, act, fight if you have to. The children in your life are counting on you to be their advocate when they can't advocate for themselves. Be that person. Have that courage. Your grandchildren deserve nothing less. Stand strong. Protect the vulnerable. Choose truth over comfort. It's the only way to truly love.